Van life is meant to be cheap, but is it really? My name's Chris and I've been living in this van for almost 5 years together with my girlfriend Charlene and our little dog Holly. I've spent most of today going through all of our expenses over the last 12 months living and travelling in our van. From fuel to campsites, laundry, groceries. I've added everything up and worked out a monthly average figure for each expense. And honestly, some of these numbers might actually surprise you. And stick around to the end because I actually filmed this exact same video 3 years ago and it's surprising to see how much things have changed since then. Just a bit of a disclaimer before we get started. Van life can be as expensive or as cheap as you want it to. And obviously these figures that we're going to share today are based on our experience over the last 12 months. To give you a bit of context, 12 months ago we were in Italy, we then crossed over to Greece, spent around 3 months there, travelled up through the Balkans, we spent some time in Slovenia, in Austria, and then after that we crossed over through Belgium, France and over to the UK. We spent some time in England, Scotland, Wales, and we also crossed over to Ireland. And then since then we came back to mainland Europe, we spent a week in the Netherlands, and now for the last month or so we've been back here in Germany and Austria. And this is quite important because the costs actually vary quite a bit between country to country. So you've got everything here listed out one by one, and we're going to get started with the first one, which is fuel, tolls and ferries. So over the past 12 months we have spent €4,750 on fuel, tolls and ferries. Now starting off with the fuel, it does depend on how much you're travelling. Like for example, over the last month we haven't really made much of a distance, but last year obviously we're moving quite a bit, so the costs do add up. In regards to tolls, same thing, there aren't really any tolls here. You do have monthly vignettes in Slovenia and in Austria. There are some toll roads like in France and Greece that you have to pay for as well. Practically most of the UK was free. And in regards to ferries, we did get one ferry from Genoa to Palermo last year, and then we got another ferry from Sicily to Italy, and then another ferry from Italy to Greece. The ferries that we took in the UK to get over to England and over to Ireland and everything, those were all covered by our sponsor P&O Ferries, so we didn't have to pay for those. Obviously if we did, that expense would have been much more. But when you work it out per month, it works out to €400 per month on fuels, tolls and ferries. So moving on to the next one, we've got campsites, parking and motorhome services, and we spent a total of €2,160 on those over the past 12 months. Now we mostly wild camp, but at least once or twice a week we do need services. So again, depending on the country, like here in Germany, most of those are free, which is amazing, and it brings the average down at least, because when we were in the UK, it was pretty expensive because there aren't really any free services. So you actually have to go into a campsite once or twice a week that costs anywhere between £25 to £45 for one night. And yeah, that is quite expensive. We did stay at a few campsites down in Greece as well. They weren't as expensive, but because there's not many services there, you do have to kind of check into a campsite every now and then. This figure also includes paid parking if we had to pay for the night, or if we paid to go and visit somewhere, and services as well. So sometimes you'll find that you can stop somewhere and just pay something small to do your motorhome services, like empty the toilet, the drains, or fill up your water. So that averages out to €180 per month on campsites, services and paid parking. You might be able to hear the heat in the background, and that's actually fitting because the next point is LPG. So over the past 12 months we have spent a total of €1,400 on LPG and gas bottles. Now you might be thinking, well, that's expensive, and yeah, it is quite expensive, but the main reason is because we do spend a lot in winter. So especially now, and early this month when we were in the Alps, we were going through a gas bottle in literally 3 days because it was just so cold, and you have to keep the heater on, and yeah, it finishes pretty quickly. As well as that, Charlene feels pretty cold in the van, so we've always got the heater pumping from around September, October time. We have an LPG system which we fill up at the fuel stations. That can be anywhere between like €1 to €1.50 per litre. And the gas bottles here in Germany, for example, they cost about €35 to replace. Obviously in summertime we don't use it as much, we just use it to heat up some water for a shower, or even for cooking, but that brings it out to an average of €120 per month. As I said, mostly used up in the winter and the shoulder seasons. Up next is entertainment, and over the past 12 months we have spent €1,981 on entertainment. Now when I say entertainment, it's not strip club, nothing like that. I'm talking about eating out, restaurants, takeaway, maybe sightseeing or entrance somewhere, subscription service or something like that. And again, this is also periodically. Like at the moment we're not really eating out that much. Maybe we had one takeaway on the way down to Europe. In the UK we went to a few pubs, nice little fish and chips every now and then, roast dinner, nothing too crazy. And then when we're in the south of Europe, like in Italy and in Greece along the coast especially, we kind of treated ourselves to some restaurants. It was just perfect weather. The food is amazing. The prices were not so expensive, but again, they do add up as well. In regards to sightseeing, there were a few things that you had to pay for, like in Ireland, and a few other things on our travels. We don't really do that every day or every week, but sometimes you're somewhere special, you know, and you have to pay to get in, and sometimes it's worth it and sometimes it's not. But yeah, I think that's an important part of travel. So when you work it out as an average per month, it's 165 euros on entertainment. So that's restaurants, eating out, takeaway, and sightseeing and stuff like that. Next up is phone and internet. And over the past 12 months, we have spent 1,008 euros. Obviously, we need internet to work, to upload the videos, and even to travel, really. We're literally, whenever we do anything, because we're in a new place, you always need the internet to find what you're looking for, be it a supermarket, destination, or even just to park up for tonight. Basically, we've got mobile phone contracts, and together we have a total of 300 gigabytes, which we can use here in Europe and in the UK as well. That pretty much serves us everywhere, and then sometimes we have to buy like a one-off SIM card, for example, like when we're in Albania, and yeah, that averages out at 85 euros per month on phone and internet. The next one is quite boring but very, very important, and that's laundry. And in the past 12 months, we have spent 840 euros on laundry. Now, normally we do it at a laundrette or in a Revolution machine that we've showed you before in the past. Those are the ones that are normally found outside of supermarkets. And sometimes we use laundry service at a campsite as well. Now, because we live in a van, especially in the winter time, we need to use the dryer as well. And some of these machines don't really dry well. So you have to kind of put money in, and then you find out that it hasn't dried yet. And then you put more money in until it's actually dry properly. Again, in winter, we spend a bit more, but that averages out at 70 euros per month on laundry. The next one on the list is actually the most expensive one. But before we get into that, let's head outside. I want to show you something real quick. So some of you may remember that we showed you our new check-in suitcase a few weeks ago, and our friends over at Level 8 have sent us a matching carry-on case. As you can see, the colour is identical. It's this celadon colour, which is this pale blue and green with a little bit of grey undertones. This is also in the Voyager series, and it's a 20-inch carry-on case. You can take it with you on aeroplanes or even for a short weekend break. This would have been perfect a few weeks ago when we broke down and we had to go and check into a hotel for one night. The shell is really tough, crafted for adventure, and the aluminium handle is really smooth and sturdy. My favourite thing about this is, just like the big case, it's super silent when you're walking. And that's just because it's got the same 360-degree quiet spinner wheels. It's got a built-in combination lock, which is TSA approved, which is really nice for peace of mind when you're travelling. Inside, it's laid out really smart. So you've got different zip sections with dry and wet separation pockets, which is absolutely amazing for taking your clothes, toiletries, or anything else that you might need. So if you want to check out the Level 8 Voyager 20-inch carry-on case for yourself, and I'll leave a link in the description below directly to their website. There's also going to be a QR code up here, and don't forget our discount code is still valid, so on checkout use the code TravelTales10 to get 10% off your order. And as well as that, they also come in bundle deals. So if you do want to get them both together, like the carry-on and the check-in case, you can buy them as a pack and also save some more money on that. So back in the van, and the expensive item was actually groceries. I'm sure some of you might have guessed. In the last 12 months, we have spent 8,172 euros on groceries. Now that's a lot of money. In our defense, we cook most of the time. Most of our meals are made inside the van. And as well as that, we try to eat kind of semi-healthy at least. We're not really eating pot noodles every day. We try to buy some meat, vegetables, salmon, chicken, stuff like that. And this amount obviously covers Holly's food as well. We buy her dry food, wet food, and sometimes Charlene even cooks up some vegetables and food for her from the supermarket as well. So all this together, including toiletries as well, works out to a whopping 680 euros per month. And I'm actually curious, do you guys spend more than that if you're two people as well, or less? I don't know. Where are we? Are we spending too much? The next up is really important. It's a yearly payment that we make, but very important. It's the insurance for the motorhome and breakdown cover. So we pay 1,200 euros, and that covers us for the actual van insurance and even for some loss and theft from the motorhome side. And it also gives us breakdown cover wherever we've been. And that came really in handy a few times actually, but especially a few weeks ago when we got stuck in the Alps. And the next two are sometimes forgotten, but they are really important because when I've calculated them, they have really add up to quite hefty sums. The first one is van related expenses. And maybe you wouldn't really think of this as a monthly expense because You know, normally you don't really spend much on the van. But in the past 12 months, we have spent €2,630 on Tandy. Now that's not too bad. There were some years where we spent a bit more than that. But basically that covers the new tyres, the service. We installed a reversing camera. We had to fix the fridge in summer. We had to fix the front heater over in the UK. You know, brakes and stuff like that. Oh yeah, and in Greece we had to fix the aircon because that wasn't working at all. So this kind of covers all mechanical expenses, both that you're not expecting, as well as like the yearly service and stuff like that. We've actually been saving money as well because we've done a lot of the things in different countries. For example, we've got our mechanic. Shout out to Freddie in Albania, who does an excellent job. We've been to him twice now. And yeah, like the countries kind of in the south of Europe and the east of Europe are generally much more cheaper than the Austria, Switzerland, Germany. Believe me, we've experienced that. Like, when I went to Switzerland a couple of years ago, we ended up fixing the clutch. We had to change our battery. What else? Yeah, brakes as well. And they were quite expensive. So although we don't plan to, sometimes some things just depend on luck. And at least in the past 12 months, everything seemed to happen at the right time. As well as that, when you're not local and you don't choose the mechanic yourself, you just kind of get towed to the closest one. There's the language barrier and you don't really know who you're dealing with. So there were a few occasions that we kind of got ripped off. That's kind of part of traveling, eh? Like you can't really plan for those moments, but at least some of them you can plan for. So that averages out at €220 per month. You don't spend that every month, but as I mentioned, like some months can be really expensive and they add up. So it's good to prepare for it. Our third one is just personal related expenses. And over the past 12 months, we spent €2,792. And these are like products, clothes, cosmetics, pharmacy visits, vet bills, doctor, dentist, and anything like that. Maybe clothes. We don't do too much shopping, but we do buy some clothes throughout the year. And yeah, any ad hoc miscellaneous stuff. And that works out on a monthly basis at €230 per month on personal expenses. So that's everything. And that brings us to a grand total. Wait for it. In the last 12 months, we have spent €26,933. And that works out to €2,250 per month to live and travel in our van, 2 people and a dog, as we did over the past 12 months. So what do you think? Is that expensive? Is it more than you thought? Or did you think we're actually spending less? I'm curious. Drop a comment down below, let me know. I think it's quite good because apart from your living expenses, you're actually traveling as well at the same time. And if we were to kind of rent somewhere and then go on a couple of holidays a year, it would work out to much more than that, I think. So now, as I promised at the beginning, I actually went back to the video from 3 years ago, which had all the expenses from 2022, when we're actually quite new at a van life. And the total monthly cost for us back then was €1,850 per month. So we're now spending another €400 per month. I've had a look and the most increase was on groceries. Like back then we were spending €450 and now we're spending almost €700 per month. So we're either eating more, which could be true to be honest, or else the cost of living increase is actually affecting us even in our van. We have seen that groceries, toiletries and stuff like that have got more and more expensive over the years, but we never really thought of it that it's kind of, not double, but it's increased by about 50%. Have you seen this in your weekly shops as well? Or is it just us? Maybe we're going to the wrong supermarket. Whichever way you look at it, the numbers are higher now in 2026 than they were 3 years ago. And I guess that's for everyone really, whether you're living in a house, in a van, or even on a boat. Thanks so much for watching all the way through. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. And if you want to watch any of our other videos, first of all, subscribe to the channel. And you can check out any of our vlogs about any of the places that we've been this year and even beyond that. All the videos are on the channel, sorted out into playlist if you want to find a particular country. And yeah, thanks again for watching and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.